vehicle with a price tag that is extraordinary. I want to bring in Utah Senator Mike Lee. Senator, how you doing? Good morning to you. They call this a skinny budget. We get a few details. How about maybe you can tell us, how high is the spending going to go?
The national debt now stands at $30 trillion. We just added nearly $2 trillion a few weeks ago. They're already talking about adding another $3 trillion in infrastructure. By the way, the $2 trillion bill was about COVID, but it was mostly not COVID. The $3 trillion bill is mostly about infrastructure, but it's mostly not spending money on infrastructure. And so it seems that they have established no upper bound limit on how much we spend. No questions have been answered about what needs to be a state responsibility, what needs to be a federal responsibility, or how we pay for it. So at this point, one has to ask the question, why budget at all if you're going to recognize no upper bound limit on what you're going to spend, or why it needs to be federal?
I think that's a great point. And usually when an administration gets there, they'll have sort of an idea. This administration might be a little different. They wanted to do COVID relief right away as an emergency measure. Kim Strassel of the Wall Street Journal has a headline today I wanted to just read to you, that the best tonic for restoring the Republican Party is overreaching Democrats, and that Republicans have a record fundraising quarter, no thanks to corporate PACs. There's been a change here, Senator.
Yeah, well, there has been a change, and I think a lot of Americans, especially hardworking, poor middle-class Americans, are going to start behaving differently. They're going to start voting with their feet, going to start looking with a little bit more of a suspect eye toward what's happening in Washington, D.C., and within the Democratic Party. Because, look, these policies are not sustainable. The spending levels are out of control. And these are all going to lead to economic catastrophe.
Senator, I want to double back on a topic we were discussing here in New York a few moments ago. President yesterday talked about new gun action that he'd like to take and like to see happen here. He mentioned this comment about no amendment in the Constitution is absolute. You talk about the Constitution a lot. Let me just quote him. You can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. Recall freedom of speech. These are his words now. From the beginning, you could not own any weapon you wanted to own. Just want to get your comment on that.
Yeah, okay, look, first of all, I would direct him to a Supreme Court decision called Heller versus District of Columbia. What the Supreme Court said in that case, on its face, is arguably consistent with what President Biden said. The Second Amendment does protect an individual right and extends to what people who are law-abiding would commonly utilize and own for lawful purposes. And so, yeah, they've acknowledged that it's not absolute. I have a feeling, though, that he doesn't necessarily have the same thing in mind as the Supreme Court said. The fact that an amendment is not absolute, that there are no exceptions ever to any protection, doesn't get him to where he wants to go here, which is, I suspect, a national gun registry system and a massive process of federally banning a number of firearms commonly held by law-abiding persons for lawful purposes. That's not going to fly, and that's not consistent with the Constitution or what the American people will accept.
Well, his words yesterday, those are phony arguments, suggesting Second Amendment rights are at stake for what he's talking about. Sir, we'll continue this conversation again very soon. Thank you, Senator. Mike Lee in Utah today. Thank you.
Thank you.